Welcome to the PostalMate webinar, PostalMate Drop-Off Kiosk, big DHL changes, and so much more. In version 12.14, my name is Karen Grant, and we're really thrilled to have you on board today. We're going to get started, and I'm going to show you real quickly my agenda so that you can see what I'm doing when, so you know when it's important for you to tune in. Most of this, for all of you, the whole thing is important. There's a few of you maybe don't do DHL, so you could kind of relax during the first part, but that's it. So here's what you do need to know. We have a critical update that will be coming soon. Soon, we don't give dates unless we know it's like imminent for release. So I would like to think it's within a day or two. That's my hope. And this is going to fix some critical issues that we found in the release of 12.14. So we do have an issue where DHL is not always receiving address line 2 when you send a DHL package. So if you have been, since 12.14, if you have sent any DHL packages, please go back in your PostalMate and see if you had anything entered on address line 2. If you did, you should contact the carrier, DHL, and say, I might need to amend the address and add that address line 2. So that correction is being made in this critical update. Also, there was an issue going to Puerto Rico and US territories, so that will be corrected in the next update for DHL. And many of you, we're going to talk a lot about the LP2844 printers. Many of you had some of those old printers. We do have a workaround coming. It's not beautiful, but it's going to work until you can get new printers. The LP2844s are dinosaurs. So we're going to go on a couple of known issues in 12.14 right off the bat. Error 200, some of you might be getting that. That can be related to your notification times for pickup. It's not always that, so please contact our support team. Some of these things we can work through, some of them we're still learning. Many of you are experiencing basically no rates at all when you enter the data. We'll be talking a lot about that. One of the issues that we have is the error messages that we used to get, that you used to see, and you kind of know what was wrong because you got used to the error messages. DHL is not sending those error messages so that we can display them on your screen for you so you know what the issue is. They are sending errors on the log to us. We see the errors, but it's not in a message format to you. So we're also looking to see if there's something we can do on our end to create error messages that we can put in front of you so that you know, hey, oh, this is missing a phone number. Oh, this is missing a return address. Oh, this is, so on and so forth. We would like that to happen. No promises there. That's my wish list. I'm not in development, so I can't make that promise, but I do know that there's an issue with getting rates if you don't have the right address. And we'll talk about that a lot also. And then other issues are just going to pop up. This is new to us. They're going to pop up and we will address them as we move on. Please know that when you call in and you experience an issue, we don't always have the answer right there to tell you. We might say, we're going to have to take information and get back with you. And that could take some significant period of time. See, I told you about the hair. Some significant period of time, and it may not be even the next day, depending on how complex it is. So I would love to tell you that with all the carriers, we have a hotline and we can call them up and say, hey, this is happening and what do we do about this? It doesn't really exist that way. So we have to deal with emailing them back and forth and waiting for answers sometimes and researching and seeing what we can find out. So we're going to do the best we can as we move forward. So let's talk about this dynamic rating. So that's what we're calling this. That's a PostalMate term, dynamic rating. Dynamic means changing or live, if you will. And we have 3 phases of this. This is phase 1. It's affecting DHL, LSO, OnTrack, and IPS, which was purchased by Meast, which is a new company backing IPS. Dynamic rating is not completely new to us. We've actually used dynamic rating for, I want to say 8 years or more in, at least 8 years in Alaska and Hawaii. So it's not new to us, but using it more broadly is new to us. So phase 2 will be UPS and FedEx, and that will happen next year. And then phase 3 will be post office, and we don't have a date yet on that, but it'll be following the UPS and FedEx at some point in time. So eventually, all the carriers, that's the goal, we will be using dynamic rating. So what is dynamic rating? What's it all about? So I know that many of you have used the DHL thing, but let me kind of explain to you how it used to work and how it does work. And we're going to go kind of quickly through this because we need to get on to other things. But here's kind of the old way. So the old way, you would fill out information on your screen. It would go get time in transit from an old server. You'd fill out more information on your screen. It would go to your computer and get rates, bring rates back. And then you get to the rate comparison screen, choose a carrier, choose a service, and then fill out all the forms. And then it would go to the old label server of that carrier, get the label, and bring the label back. Ta-da, done. The new way is completely different. The old time in transit server is gone, which is lovely because they were never terribly great. The old carrier label server is gone. And now, and also the wholesale and published rates in your computer are gone. So now you fill out all the data on your screen, and just as you're getting to the rate comparison screen, it reaches out to your account at the carrier. So it's bringing back your specific rate. So no relying on rate charts, no worrying about tier levels, nothing. It gets your rate from your account that's entered in PostalMate and time in transit, and it brings it back. You'll have a small spinny dial that'll be there a couple of seconds, and then the rates will appear. And then you'll choose your rate, move on, get through all the screens, and then it sends it back to get the label. So it's a completely different process, new and modern. This is basically the same thing that happens if you go to the carrier website. It does the same thing. You put in your account number, you fill out all the data, and it's reaching into your account to get your rates, right? And brings back your rates. In this case, when it brings back your rates, we're adding the margin that we do have stored in PostalMate that you've set up. So when you do it on the carrier website, of course, you have to then figure out in your head or on a piece of paper afterwards how much margin you're adding to that before you can charge a customer. So it's a little bit more complex. So that's how it works. And this is me. I'm a Karen. I don't want to change. I just don't like change. It's just me. So, but you know what? It's a good thing because it really, I mean, some of this is going to be you too. Some of you are just this person too. But it's going to be so much better in the long run. I do see the long run benefit, long range benefits, if you will. And please bear with me. I know that in my role, I know things that you don't yet know that are coming in the industry. And one of the reasons we don't share everything up front is because so much changes before it actually is implemented, right? But this is really important that we make these changes. So why are we changing? Well, first of all, the carriers have announced that they're getting rid of the old way. So if we didn't change, well, eventually you just wouldn't get a label anymore. So we have to change. The carrier said, you will make this change or you will die. So they've given us some deadlines. Of course, we're going to meet all the deadlines. So we're starting with this group of carriers. We felt that this would give us a really good run before we do what we call the big two, FedEx and UPS. And we will implement that in probably second quarter of next year. So be looking towards that. And the changes are going to require some changes on your part. So you're going to have to include a city and often a postal code. Sometimes no rates are going to show if you don't have a good address. Error messages are not really there. I'm hoping we can add them, as I said. Dimensions are now required. And we're learning how this works, and you can expect improvements as we move forward. We're going to say, ooh, if we did this, then that would make a better user experience by our customers. So you're certainly welcome to give us some ideas, and don't go crazy with this. But we are certainly looking always to make improvements. But the benefits are huge for this, guys. So you get real pricing. There's no fake pricing. Now, here's one I love. You get more accurate transit times. See, the old transit times were never 100%. They were good, but they weren't great. Well, the transit times now should be spot on, same as if you went to the carrier website. This one's actually kind of big, and I'm going to wait to see how this plays out. I'm not promising it, but when you send that address up to the carriers for to get rates and stuff, they're able at that time to evaluate if it's residential or commercial and bring you back that rate regardless of what you have selected. So I'm waiting to see if that really plays out that way. So don't hold me to this. This is something that is supposed to happen. We're just going to kind of see if it does. So that's kind of cool. You never need to enter a tier level in PostalMate. In fact, I think the tier levels are gone for DHL. I think we took that out because it's never a factor. And in fact, DHL is introducing another tier level, but we don't have to worry about it because we get your exact cost from your account and then you add your margins. The rate updates. When we are, let's say a year from now, when we come into December and we have UPS, FedEx, and DHL all on this dynamic rating, the rate update will be super easy. You'll just confirm that you want to keep the same margins. If there's a new surcharge or add-on or service, you might have to set that. But other than that, it's just a click, click, done. It is something that for the most part, you could do with your employee at the store, just talking with you on the phone with them, talking through it. It will be really easy. It is not this horrific, spend an hour figuring out what you should press issue. So those are gone. And then it'll be a more accurate application of surcharges. So those delivery area surcharges and everything, way more accurate. So we're looking forward to that. So just better pricing. And then most importantly, it complies with the new requirements from the carriers. So we have to do this so that you are able to continue doing business. So we're going to get into some DHL stuff here. And if you don't currently use the dct.dhl.com, you have to. You have to do that from this point forward. It's going to be a requirement. So because if the address is not in the format that DHL requires, you will get no rates in many cases. And you won't get an error message. So we did a review yesterday of the servers and how many errors we got that appeared to be related to bad addresses. In the past, you would be able to get rates, you just wouldn't be able to get a label. Now you don't even get rates because the server doesn't recognize the address. So, and just because it's a good address for UPS and FedEx does not make it a good address for DHL. Out of all the carriers, DHL is the most picky about how the address is formatted. We're going to talk in detail about that so you have a better idea on how you should be formatting things. So we're going to take a look at this address. This address has, I want to say, 6 or 7 things wrong with it. See if you can walk through with me and pick out the 7. We're going to do it pretty quickly. So the first one is that it's going to, if I understand Italian and I don't well enough, it's going to a college. So that college should be moved to the company line. Nothing should be on address line 2 related to the actual address. I know that sounds really weird, but leave address line 2 empty unless the DCT tells you to put something there. I'm going to show you that. So everything on address line 1 needs to be moved to address line 2. Now, having looked at that, address line 1 now has issues in it. It has special characters. Take out the parentheses, take out the pound sign. We don't know how these new servers are going to react with that, but traditionally, they don't like any special characters. So keep it clean. If you're writing if it's a foreign language, never ever put an accent mark or tilde or anything related to that. And it must be in pure American boring English. Now, the region, if you notice, see the region down there? It said Italy. Well, that's not the region, that's the country, and the country's already selected at the top. So you don't put anything in the region. We don't have anything for the region. And the final thing that's the issue with that is the phone number. Look at the phone number. So phone numbers have to be 10 digits for every phone number, 10 digits. This one starts with 011. That's the international equivalent of just dialing a 1 on an old-fashioned phone before a long-distance number. You have to take that out and have only 10 digits. To know what the city and destination should be, you go to the DCT. That's what this is right here. And that's how we find out Rome or Roma would be an okay name. And then for that phone number, we get it to 10 digits. We're going to do one more. This one's going to show how to really use that DCT. Again, we're going to go quickly. This one's going to Jamaica. And this is the address that your customer gave you. And it looks fine, right? But we're going to be smart enough to go and take a look. The city is Kingston, which is, I think, the capital of Jamaica. We're going to go to Jamaica on the DCT, and as soon as you start typing in King, the drop down comes down, and you can see, look at the scroll bar. It's just right here, and it could go all the way down. There are literally probably over 100 options for Kingston. And so it says Kingston 5 Red Hills, and your customer says, yeah, that's Kingston. Kingston 5 is right. It's in Red Hills, which is probably a suburb of Kingston, or a borough, or whatever you want to call it, a neighborhood in Kingston, but it identifies it. Here's what DHL wants you to do with that. It's going to have you take that information, and the first thing I would try is put now Kingston 5, because let me go back. It was Kingston 5, comma, Red Hills. See that? So I'm going to put Kingston 5 and Red Hills here and see if that works. If that does not work, I'm going to take the 5 out, okay, and just go with Red Hills. But the point of that I made earlier about address line 2 for DHL, it is for the suburb or borough that's listed in the DCT. It is not for part of the address. For UPS and FedEx and Post Office, address line 2 can be part of the actual address, like, you know, apartment 3. Well, it can't be for DHL. For DHL, the entire actual street address has to fit on address line 1. Yes, you can abbreviate. And then address line 2 is only used for that secondary department that the DCT tells you. Once you do that, make sure you have a 10-digit phone number, because it probably won't fly without a phone number. It does need to be the phone number of the receiver. If you don't have the phone number of the receiver, DHL would like you to put in the email of the receiver. Okay, one or the other or both is fine, but don't leave it blank. I've always said in the past, if you don't have the receiver's phone number, put in your customer's phone number. As a last ditch, I would say that's okay, but I actually kind of got chewed out recently by DHL for saying that. I kind of figure it's always better than nothing, but what they really are saying is they really do want the receiver's information there. So I can respect that. So let's go with that Kingston 5 and that Red Hills and try that. Again, it's dct.dhl.com, and you should bookmark that and have it available. Teach all of your employees how to use that, and that is your reference tool for all DHL. That's going to help get through all these changes with the server. All right. Tips, and this was given, we just had a phone conference call with DHL recently where they gave us some information. Get your cameras out, because there's going to, or your phones out to take a picture. There's going to be a screen that I'm not going to explain at all. You're just going to have to take a picture of it. So, but it's going to be coming up in a little bit. So first of all, never ship DHL without the receiver's phone number or email. You should also have the sender's phone number, because you never use your store as the sender for DHL. I will tell you that DHL, the DSPP, which is what the program that you belong to, that's their authorized program, Service Point Provider Program, department has absolutely said flat out, using your store as the address is causing problems. Not having the phone number or email of the receiver is causing problems. Your package may not get there and may get hung up, or both. If you do not follow these instructions. These are directly from them, quotes from them. Also, if you have a DHL account through InExpress, a few of you do back in the days when InExpress was handling the drop-offs, you need to get rid of that account and go and use a straight DHL account, and it must be a DSPP account. DHL Service Point Provider is what that stands for. Excuse me. Sorry, one more. There we go. So we do have at least one customer who has an InExpress account, and when we went to this format, she couldn't get any rates for anything. We don't know yet if that's why, but we suspect it could be. We're still researching that. So tip, this is it. This is new to me. Never ship DHL to a DHL location for pickup. And some of you are going, yeah, but I need to do that. I have to do it all the time. Hold on to your hat. Let me explain the instructions. You should send it to the person at his home address or business wherever he is. So let's say you're sending it to somebody in Nairobi, Kenya, okay? And I hope that's right. And you want him to pick it up at the DHL station because that's easiest. Well, I understand that. That's not where you send it to. If you send it to that station, it gets flagged in all kinds of colors and it causes all kinds of problems getting it there. So I'm going to tell you how to still do what you want and get it through without any hiccups. Here's what you do. You send it to the person at their address or home or business. Then you can go and change it as soon as you get the label or as soon as it's picked up after the fact to that DHL station to be picked up. So the important thing is that the home address and or the business address of the receiver is actually on the label. Then you certainly can reroute it at no additional fee through DHL. This is the screen I'm not going to explain to you. This is direct screenshots from DHL. I'm going to add one more here. Okay, now is the time to take a snapshot of it with your phone. This is going to be the only opportunity that you have to get this. And we don't have any other information. It's not my instructions. If you have questions on this, you're going to need to reach out directly to DHL, to the DSPP program. So this is the instructions, or these are the instructions for handling that. Okay. Just a reminder, DHL prohibits charging more than published price. Now, to complicate that, DHL, and we understand, we believe UPS and FedEx, this will be true later on in next year, does not return to us the published price for the package you're doing, meaning there is not going to be any C number, and we have no way of getting that from them unless they cave into our pressure, which is not going to happen because we're not that big. But we really want to give you the published price, but right now it is unavailable from DHL. So it's kind of like, well, how do I know what price not to exceed? And you kind of have to look at the service guide to see what price you should not exceed. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And maybe later next year, I'll kind of do I'm going to try to get DHL to join me here and do a webinar, a co-webinar together. Maybe we can talk about that more. And while I don't think there are necessarily DHL police out there looking at your rates, if they get reports of you charging more than published price, they can turn off your account. So just be careful with that. New DHL services. So with this, one of the benefits I didn't mention is that with this move to the new dynamic rating, we're able to receive other services that you get great discounts on and so on and so forth. So for example, there are the 9 a.m. and the 12 noon deliveries, and these two are guaranteed. See, the regular worldwide is not a guaranteed service. If it should get there in 3 days, but it takes 22 days, well, that's too bad. There's no refund. And when you're spending $400 or $500, you know, you kind of want it there when you want it there. For not much more money, you can guarantee it to get there. Now, it's still pending customs. So if there's something in it that has a problem going through customs, that doesn't count. But it's a lot safer if you need a time-sensitive item to get there, going with one of these new options. This is what it looks like on the weight-based services. On the carrier boxes and carrier branded packaging, there's a bunch of choices. You have a regular worldwide, a 9 a.m. and a 12 noon for every single size box. And yes, all the boxes now show. So that's pretty cool. Bear in mind that when you use a pouch or pack, the padded envelope or pack, you can enter dimensions in PostalMate for that, and you should. So that's it on DHL. Well, almost. Here's a related item. So let's talk real quickly about the LP2844 printer. So we removed that from our supported hardware a couple years ago when it had problems printing out some indicia labels. And that's when we noticed it and we said, okay, well, it's served us long and hard. It's been a good printer, but it's done. It does not speak the proper languages. It only speaks, to get technical on you, it only speaks EPL. DHL does not return labels in an EPL language. So there is no way possible for us to make that work. It's impossible. So these printers, if you have some LP2844 printers, you should start getting rid of those and replacing those with newer printers. The LP2844 was actually discontinued in 2009. So we do change our hardware requirements, usually every 18 months to 2 years. When we do, we let you know so you can check your equipment against it. We send you an email announcing it with the hardware requirements included, and we always have our hardware requirements posted on our website. So please be sure and check that out. We'll talk about a workaround. Hang on here. Just for kicks, if you have one of those 2844s, look on the bottom of it because it always has the date it was manufactured. And Larry, one of our vice presidents here, helped a customer yesterday. And he said, turn that over and tell me what the date says on that. And it was like September 1998. Folks, that's like 25 years old. It's done. It's so done. So I love it. We did have a few of you say, why didn't you tell me this printer wouldn't work? I wouldn't have updated, blah, blah, blah. Well, we didn't know. It's not something we have in-house anymore. So we didn't test it. So we didn't know that EPL was not being returned because we didn't need EPL. I mean, all the other printers speak EPL and ZPL. So a ZPL is what it's being returned in. So we are working on a workaround. Work. For stores that have no have no more modern printer than the LP2844. It's kind of something, it's a little clunky, it's a little bit of a pain, but the workaround will be the new method, the dynamic rating, going to those servers, will return language that your report printer will read, at least for DHL. So we are going to make a way, we are looking at, no promises, we are looking at making a way for you to be able to print to your report printer for the DHL label. I certainly wouldn't have that as a long-term fix. It's a little clunky and not very professional to have that thing print out and have to fold it and put it in a pouch or tape it to the box. It's just kind of not real great. But as a temporary workaround, we have no desire to stop you from running business. So that if we can get that to work, we're testing. If we can get that to work, it would be in the critical update that's due out hopefully this week. I'd love to say it's today. I don't think it's today, but this week. Okay, now probably what you've all come on board here for is the next item on our list. So introducing the PostalMate Drop-Off Kiosk. So I have some in the field and we're going to see what that looks like. Boy, that's annoying. Okay, here's kind of what it would look like. These are some mock-ups, but there's a countertop type, or you could just stand. Now the software is the same on both of them, but you can do it how you want. Heck, you could have a literally, you could have a touch screen and mount it to a TV mount on your wall if you wanted. I mean, you can do this in all kinds of different ways. I think if it were my store, I would have it on the countertop. This tall one is really slick looking. And if you've got a really good location for it where it can't tip over and cause problems, beautiful. But in my store, when I had my stores, I just know some 4-year-old kid would come and tip it over. So I don't think that one is for me, but the countertop, I'm all over that. I love that. So you can put your logo on it. You can see where the PostalMate logo is. Nah, you want your logo on there. So you absolutely can do that. So let's see some in action. So here's one at a Postal Annex, really sharp looking. And this is what it looks like. They have their logo on it. This is the specs they use. So they got a touch screen. They just got a mount, basically a countertop mount, and they've got the receipt printer behind the counter. You can share a receipt printer with one you currently have, but here's the catch on that. We don't support that, meaning we've designed it so you can do it. We're not going to prohibit you from doing it, but we're not going to set it up for you. And if it starts failing, we're not going to address it. We do not work on networked printers, but we allow you to do it. And here's why. those receipt printers aren't cheap. Maybe you want to test this out and see how popular it is before you go buy a new printer. So we're all about that. Let's do it. Um, can you email your customers the receipt? You can. I have a problem with that though. And here's why. You don't know 100,000% that you received the package if they get an emailed receipt. If they get a paper receipt, they have to bring the physical package up to you, drop it in your hands or on the counter, and then you hand them the receipt. So you see the package, grab the package, take the package. I'm really careful. Now, this is really different. For Timbuktu, Kansas, I'm picking on you, Kansas. They know everybody in their town. They're not all that concerned about somebody coming in, logging in something, and walking out with their package and then accusing the store of having lost it. That's not a thing there. And besides, they got some cameras that can show that happening, which is beautiful. You always should have cameras in your store. In Brooklyn, New York, there's no way they would do that. They'd have everybody and their dog coming in and dropping, putting in tracking numbers and walking out with their packages. So just depends on where you live and how you want it set up. It is highly configurable, and we will be making it probably more configurable as we go on. So you get to set kind of the screens that show up, whether you want to intake customer information or you just want to go through it as a breeze. Very, very configurable, up to you. So this is a great model. You can get this, you can do this setup on your own, or you can, Olson and Ives, which is now called TechShed, if you're not aware of that, they changed their name. You can find them probably either way right now. Still same great owners. They will have some of these models that they can just send you. I mean, they can just do the whole package. If you don't want to be bothered with setting it up, by all means, reach out to TechShed and they can put it together for you and get it to you really quick. Another take a look at this is what I call our beauty pageant winner, the best looking one I've seen so far. And these were all beta testers. Thank you, beta testers. They've been using it for a couple of weeks now. Is this one. And this is Manoli's store. And thank you, Manoli. Look at that slick setup. Isn't that pretty? He did such a good job. And so this is his setup on it. And again, TechShed will have something like this. I think the ones TechShed have right now are black, but if you needed a white one, he might be able to talk into trying to find you one. So that's it. Now you can get stands on Amazon. Let's face it, you can get everything on Amazon. I could probably buy a husband on Amazon. No. Okay. But that's the best looking one I've seen so far. I hope that you send me in pictures of yours when you get yours done, because I'd love to showcase them. And then a really easy one. Let's just say you've got an extra auxiliary that isn't doing anything. And so put up a sign. By all means, put up a sign. Here is just a complete station. It's just this store had an extra computer, monitors, mouse, keyboard, and receipt printer. So they just set it up, and a barcode scanner. They just set it up. And so now the customer, and this is in a smaller town, so not the big city, people can just come in and use it like that. That's fine. Didn't even have a touch screen. Now, I happen to like the touch screen a lot for this feature. It doesn't take a special one. It is not a tablet. It is just a touch screen. This is a full auxiliary workstation. You could literally take one of your current auxiliaries and turn it into this and just flip the screen around, and the customer would be able to use it, especially if it's a touch screen. It would be great. So this is a full auxiliary station. The hardware requirements for this are the exact same as for any PostalMate computer. It records these the same as all your other computers do. It goes to the same place. It's going to be on the same reports. Yes, it transmits to the UPS access point the same way. So it is exactly an auxiliary station. And in fact, if like this station, this working station right here, if he got so busy he needed to grab that station and use it as a regular PostalMate station workstation at Christmas and not have a kiosk, he could do that. But I think he's going to find out that the benefits of having it out there are pretty amazing. So, let's take a look at how much you're going to use this. This is a beta store, an example, and this is 10 days, just UPS, his UPS drop-off report. And in those 10 days, he did 121 drop-offs, and of those 121, 79 went to the kiosk, chose to use the kiosk. That means that 79 drop-offs he didn't have to handle right at the counter. That's a reduction of 65% of drop-offs that he had to handle. 35% came to the counter still. That's amazing. When you put that into the hundreds of drop-offs you get in 10 days, I mean, this was just UPS. So think about how many that can take away. And by the way, if there's a problem with the barcode or it doesn't scan, it cancels all of the transactions that person has, all of the scans that person has, and puts up a message that says, take it to the counter. There's an issue with the scan, take it to the counter, and you can just start fresh over there and see what the issue is. Sometimes, as you know, the barcodes have, the labels have several barcodes on them, and maybe they're just not scanning the right one repeatedly or something like that. And so it will eventually just tell them, go to the counter. So pretty cool. So here it comes. You're really angry and you want to know what it's going to cost. So just as a heads up, there has been some kiosk software in this industry in the past, and there's been a large fee for the kiosk itself and a monthly fee for the software. Well, if you already have a workstation that you're using, your cost is zero. We're charging you zero extra for this. So the fee you currently pay for PostalMate, this is an included feature. If you already have hardware, you can set it up today, okay, at no additional charge. If you have to buy something, then all you have to do is buy that hardware. So we made a decision, we had debated long and hard about it internally on whether we should charge additional for this, and we decided to let this just be a part of PostalMate, the benefits you get for using PostalMate software. So now, here's one for you. Best idea ever. If you're looking at doing this, think about getting a brand new master workstation. Maybe it's time you replace that one, and then using that your current master as the kiosk station. So you're killing two birds with one stone here doing this, right? You might have to get a touch screen, but that's okay. You keep your current monitor at your master. You just replace the computer itself. We'll help you with that. The sooner the better. I will just tell you that beginning about Thanksgiving to about 8 days into December, we are swamped with people trying to get us to help them network their new computers and get PostalMate updated on their dusty workstations that they haven't turned on for a year. So your chances of getting that done during that time are less than they would be like this week or next week. So this is something you want to do. Order it now, get it going now, and get it done before the middle of the month. That would be fantastic. Just remember your master workstation. Look, guys, I know I beat you over the head on this, but I'm just going to tell you a truth. Your master workstation should not be more than a year older than your cell phone. Because if you're one of those that has a brand new cell phone and paid, especially if it's an Apple, because that's mine, and you paid $1,000 for it, because I did, and yet you're using a 7-year-old computer as your master workstation, I'm sorry, I'll just go out and offend you. You've got your priorities wrong. Your business is much more important than you having the fanciest, latest iPhone. So please make sure that your master workstation stays within about 3 years old or less. If it was a really good one when you bought it, in other words, it was a high performance, it could go a couple years longer. But basically, rule of thumb is for a middling computer, your middling computer master should be no more than 3 years old, and your auxiliary is no more than 6 years old. How do you know how old it is? If you go down to your search bar on your Windows computer and type in about or find where it is, you'll see your computer and it'll say it's an i5-3750G at 1.85 gigahertz. And you're going to go, I don't know what that is. Okay, let me tell you. i5 is the Intel part of it. And it has to do with the cores and everything. But that second part, 3450 or 3490 or 6820 or whatever, that is the generation it is. And a 3490 is 2013. A 6450 is 2016. A 9250 is a 2019 computer. If it's over 10,000, then it's at 2020 or newer. So I can't show you on mine, but because of the full screen here, but like this computer is probably a 2019. but it's only used for webinars and nothing else touches this computer. So, but I'll probably have to replace it in the next year or so. All right, new features in PostalMate. Really good things. You're going to like these. If you haven't already noticed them, you're going to like these. So, you know, in CashMate, when you pull up a customer and it shows down the lower left corner if they have a mailbox or if they have an account, but in the shipping side, PostalMate side, it doesn't do that. Well, guess what? It now shows in the shipping side also. There it is. So that's a pretty cool feature. And now you can see as you're shipping if they have an account. Kind of cool. All right. Next really cool feature that I like is this one's fun. This one's going to be fun for you. So you entered a customer and now you're to the ship to, and you know you have that button in the lower left corner that says show only records for this customer. And sometimes you hit it and sometimes you don't. But if you do hit it, watch what happens. You get a second checkbox now. It says sort by the most recent shipment. Folks, you have shippers that have kids that move around or family that moves around or military people. And they're like, you have Thomas Grant in there. See this one right here? And you have them in there 15 times because every military post he goes to, he's got a different address. And they come in and say, I didn't bring the address, but it's the last one we shipped to because he was transferred. Well, no problem. You click that sort by most recent shipment, and then you can type in his last name, and it's going to automatically bring him up as the last, whatever the last one was. So this should be amazing for you. And this is in the 12.14. So pretty cool. Really handy at Christmas time. My pet peeve, this one was fixed. This has been, you know, we all have certain things that bother us the most. And this one, when I was a store owner, and I had, for those of you that don't know, I had 3 stores for 25 years. So I'm an old grandma. And this one used to annoy me and it's been around forever. So you're shipping to a foreign country and you type in the country and you look and it's not over there. And so you go to click add because we're always used to just entering something here. We click add and when we click add, by golly, it reverts back to USA. That used to annoy me so bad. I just told you, PostalMate, that I'm sending to the United Kingdom. Why do you select USA again? Well, that's fixed. So now it's going to say United Kingdom. My pet peeve has been resolved. Now, if I don't spell United Kingdom right, I probably will still have a problem. But let's just say this little irritation is gone. Okay. Other awesome features we're not going to review today, but you can review if they're important to you. They're all in the update guide. I encourage you to read the update guide. Poor Colette, she puts together those update guides and she just sweats bullets over those guys to make it as easy to understand, but as comprehensive. And it's such a delicate balance, putting enough information in there, but not making it so bulky you won't read it, right? So she does great at putting in lots of pictures so you can see what the thing is. So, but this update guide was big. It was 14 pages. Usually they're like anywhere between 3 and 6. So 14 was, she put together a whole book. But it's got a lot of good stuff in it. So please go and read it, take a look at it. The first page, if you're not familiar with the update guides, the first page is always the same and you think, oh, I don't need that. I know what that says. No, it's page 2 and beyond that you need. If you already know how to do an update, yeah, skip page 1. It's page 2 and beyond that has all the new stuff. I can't tell you how many customers I've talked to over the years that I tell them, well, why aren't you using blah, blah, blah? And they say, well, what is that? When did that come out? Well, if you read your update guides, you would have seen it. So please read your update guides. We're going to get into some CMRA stuff. This is going to be light, not heavy duty. I am planning on doing a webinar later. I don't know if it's going to be this year or next year. I'm hoping this year, but it's kind of coming down to the wire here with holidays on the CMRA info. So for those of you that don't know or did not attend the RS Expo in Dallas, I'm sorry that you missed it because Clayton Gerber, who was the head postal inspector in charge of this program, the new changes in CMRA, did attend and did give a lengthy 2.5 hour, it ended up, course. And he stayed until everybody's questions were answered. I mean, he was very, very generous with his time. I know a lot of people there thought he was kind of an arrogant guy. I thought he was wonderful. I don't think he was arrogant. I think he was just, this is how it is. He didn't have the control to make changes. And so many people said, but what about this and what about that? Well, this is the rule. And so I think he was wonderful. So I hope that those of you that saw him also thought he was wonderful. Because he was willing to share information, and that's precious, seldom happens from the post office. So I thank him for sharing all that information. So here's what I do know. California and Texas, and we were told also Wisconsin, though I have not confirmed Wisconsin, stores have received their credentials, their information for getting into the CRD and starting to enter data into the CRD, Customer Relation Database. The California and Texas stores certainly have reached out to me because they received a letter, and to our knowledge, no other states have yet been announced. So they're holding off on the other states. My guess is they may hold off till after the first of the year. We'll see. And they want to kind of see how these 3 states go. Initially, they were going to just do it right away after, but I think they wisely decided to hold off. But who knows? They could release it next week to everybody else. I have no insight on that. So, by the way, I have to stop and tell you a story. I'm not involved in these CMRA decisions. I'm just the messenger. I had a customer 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, send me a scathing email yelling at me about all these CMRA changes and how it was upsetting her life and ruining her business and terribly difficult. Like it was, and she was blaming me for this. Folks, I'm not that important. The post office doesn't even know who I am. I'm not, all I'm doing is gathering the best information I can and presenting it to you, hopefully in a way that you can understand. So, I mean, I did explain it to her that that's not true. And so she wasn't, mad at me anymore or anything, but please know, I don't have a say-so in this. I'm just the messenger. So please don't yell at me. Unless the CRD info is available in an area, your postmaster has probably never heard anything about this. So if you're in Wyoming and you go to your postmaster and say, yeah, when am I going to get the CRD thing? They're going to look at you like you're nuts. They're not going to have any clue what you're talking about because they won't get the information until you do. Now, when you started as an owner at your store, you filled out, hopefully, a 1583 at your post office. Your post office hopefully filed that properly and it's in their file cabinet. But there's always a chance, number one, that you didn't know to fill that out, so you didn't do it. Or number two, that postmaster or some subsequent postmaster didn't know what it was and got rid of it. So if you're in California, Texas, or Wisconsin, and you do not or have not received any information about this, it will come in the mail, then you should go down to your post office, ask them to show you the 1583A that you filled out. And even if they have it, make sure it's current. And if they don't want to show it to you or don't want to pull it out, it's okay to fill out another one. There is no harm in filling out another one because you will not get included on this if you don't have a 1583 on file, if 1583A on file. And by the way, they will be narrowing it down and turning off mail services to you for other names if you don't have a 1583A. Now, will they do that this year? Doubt it. Will they do it next year? Doubt it. That's my guess. But eventually, let's face it, I don't want to be the one store that gets turned off because I didn't fill out a 1583A or the postmaster lost it and I didn't check on it. So, yeah, so go ahead and make sure that they have your 1583A. The most current information on all of this is at RS Associates. So just to back up, they did film the pertinent parts of Mr. Gerber's presentation. So everything he said is on film. That's like golden to us so that we can take it as gospel. Now, the post office, of course, can come back at some point in time and say, he misspoke here, which I don't think he did. I think he was absolutely on point with everything he said. Or, well, he interpreted it this way and we're going to interpret it that way. That could happen in the future. We've seen that happen in the past. So 10 years from now, he could retire and the post office could come back and say, yeah, that's not how we're looking at it now. So that all could change. But the important point is that he did explain things in layman's terms in a way that was understandable so that we could kind of understand what is meant by X, Y, and Z. And so that's now, at least if we follow that and the post office at some point says, no, no, that you can't do that, you're wrong, they can't shut you down because that's how they instructed us, right? So thank goodness RS had the awareness to film that. They have created a webinar. Rajan Doraisamy has created a webinar, a filmed webinar. It's or a video, I guess. And he has probably the most information of anybody in the country on this outside of the post office. He was the beta store for this entire program, and he has that information available on the RS website. So please, if you want more information, that is the best source to go. I'm only a tertiary source. So Rajan's number one, RS is number two. I'll let me be a number three. How's that? Okay. rscentral.org is the website if you haven't joined. Okay, and then just for those stores in Texas, California, and perhaps Wisconsin, when you got your first letter, you got scared to death if you read it because it said you have 90 days to enter your 1583s. And a couple of you reached out to me and said, what the heck, Karen, you said 9 months. Well, I did. I said 9 months. Guess what? I'm still right. So I reached out to RS. They reached out to Mr. Gerber. Mr. Gerber wrote back, and here was his response. He says, yep, that was wrong in that letter. If you can do it, that'd be great. He also said that refers actually to new PMB customers. So if you get a new PMB customer, you have 90 days to enter it. But for everyone, all of your legacy ones that you have to put in, he says you do have 9 months to convert those. So take a deep breath, you stores. Don't panic too hard. You're good. So we're golden on that. Thank you, Mr. Gerber, for clearing that up. So again, this is why it's so important to have that connection with RS that's getting this kind of information. Let's see. We're going to get to questions in a minute. So before we get to questions, I am going to go off topic completely and ask you a question. And this is a poll. So we're always looking at features we can add to PostalMate. So like the kiosk feature, we started working on about a year ago. We came up with the idea, we started working on it. And we didn't tell a soul. I mean, nobody knew about the kiosk feature until it was well underway and only insiders knew and stuff. So I'm sure for you guys, it was a pretty big surprise that we did it. And we love to do that. So, but we're always looking for things that you really need, not things that would only help your store. If it's just going to help your store, I don't want to hear about it. I'm sorry. I can't develop things for one store. It has to be something that's going to be really helpful. Now, and when I say helpful, my main goal is make more money. My secondary goal is make more convenient, okay? So if you have a lot of things, oh, this is a pain, that's a pain, it would be easier if, it would be easier if, I'm really more interested in hearing, I would make more money if, okay, those are the big things. And that's what we did with the kiosk, by the way. If you have less time at the counter spent with these drop-offs, then you have more time with paying customers. And employees are not cheap. So it could eventually, for some stores, really help your staffing. So we thought of it along those lines. So this poll is a little bit of both. I think it will help with recurring revenue if it's automatic. And I just want to know this question. We're going to show this. So if this is regarding mailbox recurring billing. So here I'm going to launch the poll. Get ready. All right, so this is the poll. Click on it, please, as you see it. If you are offered recurring credit card charges for mailbox rentals in PostalMate using a stored credit card, but it was only with a credit card processor you perhaps did not use today and you had to change to them, how likely would you be to do that? And let's face it, we're not usually really attached to our credit card, but some people are, some. It would mean you'd lose everything in your current credit card processor. So if you have stored credit cards, you'd lose that, but you'd be able to do it in the new one. Okay, and I'm going to close this poll. It's really important we get good feedback. So please vote. So we're going to close this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And most of you said yes. I'm not going to share that because I don't want to. I don't want to cause a firestorm out there. Usually I share all the polls. We're going to use that internal to make some decisions on this, but this is something we're looking at and that I would like it's on my Christmas list that we're looking at for next year. I'd love it to be next year. So maybe. Anyway, okay, we're going to get to the questions now. So I think, there we are. Okay, so we have we had 1,200 people signed up for this webinar, so there's no way I'm going to get to all your questions. So I'm just going to try the best I can. So if you don't mind. Okay. I'm going to repeat one I answered before the webinar. You're getting notices from the carriers. The CRD is giving notices. Are you in compliance for this? So some of it is e-delivery of customs information. Yes, we already do that. No, that doesn't mean you can stop printing them out. The fact that we do that behind the scenes does not negate you printing it out. You still must print it out, get it signed, and include it. That is a requirement, whether or not it's sent by e-delivery. Yes, we are meeting all the requirements for the carrier for e-delivery. Same thing when you get into the CRD portal, they ask a whole bunch of questions about, are you including the three-digit code, blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, that's Indicia, and yes, Indicia is compliant. So, okay, bear with me. There are literally hundreds of questions coming in, so I apologize. I'm trying to get down here. There are several towns in Colorado that will not work with DHL. That is true. If DHL doesn't pick up from there, it cannot be a return address. So in that case, Maggie, what you would do is say, I need a return address for somebody in either this town that you know, so maybe you have a friend or relative who lives here and have an address for them, or it could be somewhere else. But I have to have an address from you where they can return this package. Otherwise, we're going to have to send it UPS and FedEx, and it might be more money. So you're just going to have to do that. I would not use your store. That's what we've been told by the carriers, by DHL. It does make it tough, Sean. I agree. It does make it tough. Usually they'll have a friend or, I guess in a last, because I've been in your shoes, as a last case, I'd still probably use the store, but I wouldn't go to that until after I exhausted everything else. Please, please. Where can you find the DHL published rates? Google 2023 DHL service guide. Boom, you got it. Trey says, my customers love the kiosk. We have been using it for a week now, and we can see how much time it saves us. Thank you for sharing that. That makes me so happy. Please explain the best type of scanners to use. Okay, so there's 1D scanners and 2D scanners. The kiosk has the same capabilities as your other workstations right now. So no QR codes are being read. 1D scanners are fine for that. 2D scanners will read regular barcodes and also QR codes, but PostalMate is not QR code ready because none of the carriers will open their interface to us. So if they do, then we can. So do I think you should get a 2D scanner for the future? Well, it wouldn't hurt. It depends on how often you break them in your store. Some stores are notorious for dropping them all the time and having to replace them. 2D scanners are significantly more expensive than a 1D scanner. So do I think it's a good idea to move to 2D scanners? Absolutely. Is it a required? Absolutely not. So you can certainly wait until you have some QR codes you need to scan for that. Yeah, so the kiosk itself will not read a QR code. So if your customer comes up with a QR code and tries to scan it, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to work. Christopher, charges for USPS drop-offs. How does that work with a kiosk? It doesn't. And can you use an iPad? Nope, it's a regular computer. This is a regular full-on auxiliary workstation. Some stores have stopped giving drop-off receipts because the carriers tend to misplace them. I would say it's now expected of you to give a drop-off receipt. I used to really not be a fan of giving drop-off receipts for post office. I'm thinking that customers are going to expect it. That's why they come to your store instead of going to the stupid post office, is because you give better service. And so part of that is giving those drop-off receipts. Now, having said that, I've already mentioned that I'm a huge fan of having lots of cameras in your store. Guys, through Costco or Sam's Club, it ain't expensive. You should have a camera on your kiosk. You should have a camera on each of your places where packages are left. So your USPS pile, your UPS pile, your FedEx pile, your DHL pile, so that when the driver comes in, you can see that that package was in that pile. You've got video of you putting it there, and that driver picked up everything in that pile. Easy peasy. I'm a huge fan of that. That is something you should invest in rather than not giving your customer a receipt. You want to excel in customer service. Do you have to protect yourself? Absolutely. If you do not have, by the way, errors and omissions insurance rider on your insurance, business insurance, if you go through RS Associates, you already have that. If you're a member of a part of the Annex Brands franchise, my guess is you already have that. But if you're an independent store that's not part of either one of those, you need an errors and omissions insurance rider on your business insurance. If you want to know what that is, RS Associates has a great program for you. You should look into that. It's not normal in business. It's kind of somewhat unique to our industry, but it's basically saying if you make a mistake or if a mistake happens in your store and something goes missing, that's when that insurance kicks in. Because it'll be that customer that says, oh, it was a $4,000 blah, blah. And you're like, well, lucky me. So yes, protect yourself. All right. Oh, wow. Mary is halfway through entering all their 1583s into the CRD for the post office. So that is excellent. She's in Texas, and my guess is a lot of the border states have a lot of mailbox customers. So my guess is she has quite a few. So just remember, if the ID, and I can't say this strongly enough, if the ID is not listed, it's not acceptable. End of story. But no, there are no buts. No ID that matches what's on the list. No mailbox. That's just how it is. So I can't. Clayton Gerber at the expo was absolutely adamant about that, and he still had people saying, "Yeah, but what about no? Yeah, but what? No." So the answer is no. Somebody emailed me this morning, and I didn't get a chance to answer him, but he's saying, like, "Oh, how about a utility bill?" No, no. So okay. With the kiosk, what about asking customers fragile, liquid, perishable, etc.? Do you think posting a sign would be enough? Well, certainly if that's important to you, then I think you should post a sign. There are some words there portions of it that are customizable, but not a message like that. This is kind of phase one of the kiosk. We intend on making improvements in it. I would like for that to be an improvement, that we add a place where you can have a pop-up message that says, I agree that nothing in these containers have. So that is something I hope we will have in a future update. It is not being actively worked on currently because guess what, guys? All the carriers are changing their rates now, so we're doing that right now. But yeah, I think that's something that would be a good add. Allison, that's probably not going to happen, but it depends on what we go with here. And by the way, if you're wondering why you would have to change processors or credit card processors, and why we won't use X processor, it's really expensive for us to add a new processor. To PostalMate costs us 6 figures. It's a 6-figure thing, and it's a 5-figure annual support for that. So it's very, very costly on our end. And we're looking for that which will give the best bang for the buck. So that's all it means. We're not going, if we introduce this for a particular credit card processor, please do not be offended that it's not the one that you wanted. We can't do it for all of them. It's very, very costly, and we're just not going to continue to support multiple features in PostalMate for multiple credit cards. I'm not saying we're getting rid of your credit card processor. I'm not saying that at all. We have no intentions of doing that. Just simply that when we have a lot of special features, it will be focused on a single credit card processing system. It's just no financial way we can do it. Again, we're a boutique industry. We are never going to have 20,000 customers. So I got to work with what I can here, guys. All right. Going through. How do we keep drop-off customers from accessing the rest of the portal? I'm so glad you asked that. Let me show you, because that's kind of cool things here. Let's see if we can go in there. So we've got PostalMate here, right? I'm going to close PostalMate. Now you access their instructions that are in the update guide on how to set up the kiosk. But I want you to look over here. Can you see this really cool thing here? Look at that. There's a PostalMate kiosk icon that will sit on the desktop. When I click on that, it's going to open up into the PostalMate kiosk. It's really cool. Here it comes. Now, I can't use it all. I don't have a barcode scanner plugged in. I had asked for one. It didn't happen. And some labels. It didn't happen. So I can't show it to you. But there it is. And you can touch this and you can get to the next screen. Bear with me here. We're still sitting it. Get to the next screen, and there you go. And then you'd scan it, and it would go to the next screen, the next screen. But there's no way to get out of the screen. It is locked into this screen. Now you'll see that down here it says main, because this happens to be a standalone because it's my webinar computer, but for you it'll say auxiliary. Okay. And then over here it has this little admin. It's really discreet in the lower left button corner. And if somebody chooses to click on it, they can. This is what they're going to get. Well, that doesn't help them. So if you have securities enabled in your computer, then you would use your regular securities. If you don't have securities, then the password for you is in the update guide. I'm not going to tell it to you via webinar because this goes up on YouTube and then everybody would know it, right? So it's in there. And you can click that and click OK. And then if you want to get out, you can. The settings are right here. And the operations right here. So if I want to exit it, I just exit and I'm out. Ta-da! But you have to have that password in order to get out. So that's how it's going to work. It's pretty cool. Michael asks if we are being held accountable for contraband being shipped. I don't know of anybody that held you accountable for that. You can ask the questions, but you are not liable for the actions of others unless you're aware that something bad is in there. If you're aware, then you have responsibilities. If you're not aware, then no. Trey just looked at the last 3 days. This is a big deal. Trey, I love you. I love you right now. He's been using the kiosk. He looked at his for the last 3 days. People going to the kiosk, 149 drop-offs in 3 days. People that came to his counter, 22. That's amazing. I love that. I love that. So Sarah asks, this is a CMRA one. With the CRD, do we need to both upload the 1583 and manually enter the data? Yes, you do. How do we get this kiosk? Well, like I said, you can use your own equipment. You can buy equipment. You can go to TechShed and get equipment. You can put it together from Amazon. You can turn one of your current auxiliaries into it. The instructions to turn it on in your software are in the update guide. We emailed everybody the update guide, and also the update guide has an option to pop up when you do the update. So if you go to our website, I believe you'll find the update guide there also, but look in your emails. That's usually the best way of finding it. And in the when you do a search, just put in 12.14 and that notice should come up. Gosh, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions, guys. Oh, Mindy, thank you. Oh, Allison, thank you. Okay, I stand corrected. Other states are starting to get the notification from the post office regarding the CRD. I have Pennsylvania that has, I have Arkansas that has, and I'll bet if I was able, had time to look through others, I would have other states. So if you get that email, that letter, and it says you have 90 days, just know that you actually have 9 months for your current customers, and you have 90 days for if I walk into your store today and rent a mailbox from you, you have 90 days to put me in. But for all those people that you have already, you have 9 months to get them in. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay. Does DHL only offer international shipments? To us, yes. They do have domestic shipments that is not open to our stores. How do you get rid of USPS packages going to New Jersey before it goes overseas? Holly, you need to call. So what she's talking about is the GAP program, which I personally hate because it causes problems for stores. The GAP, what happens is you send something to Italy and Indicia sends it to a processing facility in New Jersey or Los Angeles. They have like 5 processing facilities. They'll send it there where it will then get relabeled and sent to Italy. The problem is, of course, is the label doesn't reflect everything. The tracking number doesn't reflect right. It's a pain in the neck. That program you can turn off by calling Indicia. So you will call Indicia and you will say, here's my account number. I want to turn off the GAP program and Global Post from my account. Now, they will probably argue with you. And here's why. They make a lot of money on that GAP program and that Global Post program. So those are 2 different programs. One's a program, one's a company, but 2 different things. Ask to have them both turned off if you do not want your packages to be sent any other way but post office when you use Indicia. Because Global Post is an internal company they owned that they're routing some to instead of the post office or partially to that company instead of the post office. So it's, again, a way for them to make a lot of money on it. So if you don't want it, you have to call them. You have to tell them you want GAP turned off and you want Global Post turned off from your account. Again, they may argue with you because they're told to, and if they don't know what you're talking about, you escalate that. Okay, good question. Oh, Nela, you are so right. If PostalMate is pulling rates from the carrier, and if the carrier rates are not wrong, I'm speaking about you purple company, then you're going to get the wrong rates in PostalMate and the wrong rates billed to you. That is true. This whole process depends heavily on the carriers having your account rates correct. Now, you assume that that's always true, but in fact, all the carriers have at times had that not be true. One company in particular, but honestly, the 2 big ones, UPS and FedEx, have both had that on occasion. FedEx much more recently than UPS. So it will pass through whatever they have keyed in. So that means that a smart store, and I'm so grateful, I have a lot of smart store owners, they periodically will go in and check things. The good news is they often, and I encourage you to do that randomly every few months, go in and check and make sure it is what you should have been billed. Let me know if it's not, if you think you have a problem. We'll look at it together. If I determine it's probably a carrier issue, then I can mention it in a webinar and say, hey guys, make sure that you're being billed correctly. Because I can't fix if the carrier has something wrong. I can only fix PostalMate. Oh. How do we manage the increased price of packages that are in bags now that we have to add dimensions? The price increase is outrageous. Yeah, but that's what you're being charged. You're going to be charged based on the dimensions. So you have to charge your customer that. So there's nothing for you to do. You're charging them for what they're sending. Edna, there is no charge from PostalMate for the kiosk. You just have to buy the equipment. We don't sell the equipment. Let me backtrack. This happened a lot we do not sell hardware. TechShed sells hardware. Amazon sells hardware. Best Buy sells hardware. We do not sell hardware. If you want to have a no, you don't want to deal with it, you just want the thing, please call TechShed. They're formerly Olson and Ives. Mike O'Malley and Ryan O'Malley own that. They are fabulous. They have been working with us for months and months and months on this project, so they know exactly what you need. They have a countertop model. They have a stand-up model. Please go and talk to them. If you want to do your own thing, do your own thing. Yes, Trey, Chubb is the insurance company. Okay. Will Anytime Mailbox and iPostal handle the CRD upload themselves, blah, blah, blah? I don't know. You'd have to reach out to them. It's not part of PostalMate. I have an idea, but I am not willing to put my neck out there for somebody when I don't have all the information. So can you run the kiosk on a Chromebook? No, it's a full auxiliary station. It has to meet the same hardware requirements as an auxiliary station. Will PostalMate have an interface to avoid double entry into the CRD? Nash, that we can't build an interface to something that won't talk to us. So we have to wait first for the post office, and they have said they're going to have an interface. They haven't given a timeline on it. They are going to have an interface. When they have an interface, we will look into that and develop what we can to work with it. That could be 6 months from now. That could be 8 years from now. I have no idea. So until then, it's all manual. For those stores that are in PBC, by the way, the scanner question came out. Let's make sure that you get a 2D scanner. You want to know why? Go talk to PBC, but you should have at least one or two 2D scanners available, please. There's some programs coming up where you're going to need that. All right. Again, the cost of kiosk is free because PostalMate's not charging you anything. I keep getting that question. And, you know, I had that annoying guy in there because I knew I was going to get killed with this annoying question over and over again. Because I understand you have to step away from what I'm saying. So again, PostalMate charges $0. You only have to find the hardware. And let's see. What if we don't have all the services for the drop-offs? If you don't have it turned on in PostalMate, it won't appear. So just like your current auxiliary, when you go to scan it in, just like that. It won't work for the QR codes for anybody. So, okay. Adam says he got it working and it looks great. So that's fantastic. Terry says sometimes a FedEx Ground scans as an express package. Any workaround for that? So here's the interesting thing. If you use a barcode scanner, I have not seen it scan incorrectly. So if it scans in, if you type it in, it's always going to come up as an express and you have to manually select ground. With the kiosk, there is no manual entry for the barcode. So if they want to manually enter it, it has to go to the counter. That way they can't make a mistake on it. Does the kiosk have to be hardwired to the internet? Yes, just like an auxiliary station. Ethernet, no Wi-Fi, no Wi-Fi, no Wi-Fi. Okay, can I show, hold on, the DHL screen with the instructions. I don't know if I can get back to it, to be honest. The kiosk drop-off for all carriers, or the kiosk drop-off is for all carriers that you accept. So in my store, it would have been available for post office, UPS, FedEx, and DHL. So it'll work with all that. Okay. I know there's a lot more questions in there, but I think I got to as many as we dare go. We're 20 minutes over, so I think we need to end the show now. If anybody wants to stick on for a minute, I'm going to end the recording, but I'll stay on and try to find that one DHL screen for you. So thank you, everybody watching on a recording, and have a great day. Bye-bye.